podcast series done by CDU, me, Eileen, together with my two colleagues, Ms. Nalni and Ms. Sarah. So we are your counselors at Lindsay College. Basically, today's episode is about empowering you non-counselors to support others. It's about how you people, you, the friends, the family, the colleagues, what's the other word for it? The associates, how you can provide even that little bit of support, which counts for a lot when people are having issues, and how you can then just give it to them, without being too overbearing or being too intrusive, if that's what you're worried about as well. So to start it off, let's talk a little bit about why it's important. I think Nani has something to say about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I do believe it is important. So to kind of like bring back what we've talked about a bit in the last session. This is out of habit. Last podcast, right? So we talked a bit about this iceberg, what makes up our mental health. It's this iceberg that you can imagine, visualize in your mind that, what makes up mental health. Top of it, the tip of the iceberg is counseling, therapy, medications, or instances where you do need medication, right? And everything below, underneath that surface of water is a lot of things like our habits, self-care habits, our, things that gives us purpose in life, what is fulfilling for us. All of that makes up our mental health, and a huge chunk of it also is support system. So what is support system is this, outside therapy, outside counseling, is the people around you and how you can be of a support to someone and how you can receive support as well. And for that, it is important that non-counselors, non-mental health professionals also know and get to know the skills, the knowledge needed to, offer that support so that we can be that support system to one another. And by that, it welcomes a more open conversation surrounding mental health, because we've been talking about how there's a lot of stigma surrounding it, and by educating ourselves on how we can be that support system is the way to break that stigma. It becomes a more open thing that we all can talk about.
I think that's really great to put it, because during sessions, let's come back to sessions again. During sessions, we will actually ask sometimes, or we do take note of clients who are like, what support systems do you have? And when we talk about support systems, it's always about who you confide in, who is there for you, who do you lean on when you need that kind of help, or when you feel unhappy. And and these are not counselors, these are not professionals. These will always be always my best friend, my old friends from school, someone I grew up with, my mother, my dad, my aunt, my boyfriend, things like that. So it's always not professionals. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's just so important that people do realize that when you're living here alone, you may have friends who will go like, oh, are you sick? How are you feeling? Just that checking up is also part of support system, because someone cares.
And it's the fact that you can reach out to someone, right? It's a similar concept to like being physically sick. You can reach out to someone when you're feeling cold or you're feeling thirsty. So even though you're staying alone or anything like that, it's like I can call a friend, I can text a friend, or reach out, because coming back to our point on boundaries, we're not going to be around 24/7. And I think that's why we wanted to do this specific episode, so that we can talk a bit more about what are some qualities that you can have in supporting someone, and how you can do that in an effective manner, and why it's like beneficial.
If you think about, you are seeking help for mental health by attending therapy sessions, but if you think about it, it's 1 hour per week, right, at most, and everything else is outside it, whatever that happens outside. So it's important, like, that environment is something that is nurturing your mental health as well. And when we talk about environment, it's people most of the time. So this is where just educating ourselves on these skills, so that we be that safe space for others, and hopefully get to have that safe space for ourselves as well. So just like focus so much on that, growing towards being that community where it is safe for all of us to nurture each other's mental health.
I like how you mentioned safe space, because this is something I've noticed. Like, safe space is so linked to whatever is around you, because that space is your environment. Knowing things like when you're sick or when you're feeling down, knowing that the people around you will be supportive or they care, helps you have. It actually makes up that safe space, because you don't feel like a bother, you don't feel like you're intruding. You actually feel like it's okay to be there as you are. And I think that's so important, because a lot of times one of the things I hear a lot is always, I don't want to be a mother, like they're so busy already, I don't want them to do this, or like I feel so out of place over there, it's like nobody cares, because nobody talks to me, nobody cares whether I'm sick, no one came to check in on me, and that just kind of really drives home how your surroundings are so important in that sense. Like just that little behavior of like opening the door to say like, are you sure you're okay? You know, can help when a person's just feeling down. Like just to know that people are thinking about you and like helping you feel belonging in that space.
Yeah, and it's always a human need to feel belonged.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't underestimate the power of human connection.
Yes.
So everyone has different degrees, I think, of need, but the need is there. The need for the
Definitely.
connection is there.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is key to our, whatever that makes us human, right? That like something common about life is that human aspect, that connection that we can have, and this can't be replicated. Come to think of it, we do spend quite a significant amount of time online, and we can consider that like virtual connections as part of connection. But like, yeah, although that's where the world is perhaps heading, like the digitalization of things, and then we easily use that as a replacement, it can feel like, yeah, this is the most accessible way I can have that kind of connection. While that is still something, but that actual human connection that you get in like in person, that is something from there that you just can't replicate it anywhere else. So yeah, today's topic is definitely more so on that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so about providing support to other people, there is this quote that I've come across, maybe I've come across too. It's about how the biggest problem in communication is that people listen to respond, not to understand. But with active listening, it's about maybe making it about that person who is sharing, and so wanting to understand what they are going through and get more information on their situation and try to learn more about it rather than what can I say quickly and things like that. And it's very important because that's how people would then slowly open up with us, right? If it's just shut down, then it's like, okay, story over. But yeah, so I think there are like certain things that can be practiced to try and improve. Active listening is a skill, it can always be learned, you can improve on something like that, and there's things that we can try. So yeah, what are some of the things that you guys have in mind of how people can maybe practice active listening in their lives?
And there's this image I've come across about like the portion of listening, the ratio of listening and talking is literally what you have. It's like listen more and then maybe focus on the response. That you don't have to focus so much on like saying the right thing or like because if you go into that mode of like I'm offering support for someone, so I need to focus on what to say, then you're again taking that focus away from that person who needs that attention and care, and then you're making it about you. So that's where it defeats the purpose. So the purpose here always comes back to like it's this person is reaching out to you for support, so the spotlight is on this person. So yeah, the ratio is like listen more and maybe talk less, and it's okay if you don't have anything to say. Actually, it really is okay. Inevitably sometimes give out advices that they are not even looking for. Maybe it's all of that. So, and aside from that, it's that active listening. It's not just hearing the words. Listening and hearing on different things. Actually, to
Yeah.
actively listen involves comprehension, trying to understand what they're actually saying, what they mean, trying to understand what their experiences are like. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. It's one of those common complaints, right? You hear me, but you're not listening to what I'm saying, which you hear people saying things, but you don't process because you're not actually giving them your 100%. So one of the things about active listening is actually to be, and going back to first and second podcast, right? Mindfulness and being aware, you're actually being very present with that person. When that person sits in front of you, you actually take the time to give them your full attention. That's what active listening is about, to actually listen and process what they're saying. And I think one of the important things about active listening is that it's about listening, essentially. You listen, there is no judgment, there are no opinions given. And most of the time, one of the key things about active listening is to let that person finish.
Exactly, especially if you're sharing something important, you're talking about something serious that
Yeah.
does mean a lot to you. And sometimes I think I've heard responses like you're using a phone, and then sometimes I would be like, are you even listening? And I've heard responses like, yeah, I can multitask.
Yeah.
Like, no. So
Yes.
it's those like little things, right? It's like whether you're like so easily distracted. It's not that you can't drink water or use your phone, but maybe you can like say it, like let me just check this for a while and things
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yes, you can multitask, but also it's someone choosing to open up to you, and then those things can signal that like, oh, maybe I don't matter enough for you, that kind of thing, and that just makes the other person shut off even more. So if you do need to like quickly attend to a text, and you can just say like, let me just text back real quick, and then I'll get back to you. right after that, things like that. And of course, trying your level best to be present and paying as much attention as you can. And that's when the focus is on wanting to, if it comes from a place of like, I really want to understand this person and what is going on. So that's when that attention, it helps for you to hold that attention because you want to understand something, kind of like how you want to understand that lecture. A certain lecture, you want to understand a certain concept, you would pay attention. So same thing here, making it the goal that is to understand this person, and that would actually, all that skills that is needed to like pay attention, to minimize all those distractions and just listen actively, that those things would automatically come in if you make it the objective to understand that person.
Yeah, it's just essentially it just boils down to giving them your full attention.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that because a lot of people feel like, if someone's opening up to you, there's that fear of maybe I don't know what to say, or I'm not going to be helpful enough, or say the right thing, or provide support, and this person is opening up to me, and maybe trusting that just that presence of you listening is more than enough, and the words is something that will naturally follow when you understand the content of the story. So trusting yourself in that sense is also like important to go into that mode of like, I'm just listening to respond.
Yeah, that's a very important point. Yeah, just not focus so much on like saying the right thing. And I like the point that you mentioned about it will naturally follow. So try not to be too concerned about saying the right thing and everything. And and it's also, I believe, completely acceptable to just ask questions if you don't understand something, like I just want to go back to this part real quick, like what exactly did you mean by that? That would help them to open up a bit more even, and like explain, and that also helps you to understand this person properly. Or if like, and sometimes because when we are trying to understand people, we sometimes it's understandable that certain assumptions cross our mind. So like I think this is what this person is feeling, and yes, that is in the end still an assumption. So it's always good to clarify that assumption by like, is this what you're feeling? And then if it is, then bingo. If it's not, then they will clarify it also. So essentially it helps them to open up even more. So it's okay to, if all you have in your mind is questions, just ask, it's fine.
True. I like how you bring up the idea that it's okay to ask questions, because like coming back to what Sarah was saying as well, where you listen first and then the words will come naturally. I think one of the main things is it's actually okay just to ask them, what can I do for you? If you totally, you're sitting there and just like, I don't know what I can do. You've told me all these things are happening, but I'm here and I'm listening. I don't know what you need. It's like, just what can I do for you? And if they need anything, they'll tell you. I need a hug, I don't need anything, I just need to listen, I just needed your time. They will tell you. And you will realize that how much they appreciate just even that.
Definitely. Just it's completely okay to ask actually what you're looking for. Do you need a perspective on this? Do you need advice on this? Unless they explicitly say like, yes, can you advise me on this particular thing? Then if you do have anything to offer, by all means. And if you also feel like, I don't think it's my place to give advice on something that I'm not too familiar about, you can also say that like, I don't think I'm the best person to say this, but maybe try to look for a resource, like so maybe you can go up to this person or this professional, or like let me do a quick Google search for you. So those are other ways to offer that support. But essentially just identify what this person is looking for, and that's why it's completely okay to ask, like, do you just need a pair of listening ears? Then yes, I'm here. But if you're looking for something specific, what can I do? Just asking that just makes things much easier actually.
And a pair of listening ears kind of also follows your eyes. And not like when someone's talking to you, you're kind of just like, oh, the sky is like really gloomy. Maintaining like appropriate eye contact, right? Not too little, not too much to the point it makes you uncomfortable and like you're being watched or judged almost. A way of also providing, so it's not always just am I saying the right thing or things like that, but just providing through all these other body language ways is just equally as significant.
Speaking of eye contact, yes, there's the too much. Just ease a little on the eye contact. Sometimes if you can actually tell when someone is getting uncomfortable. If like they are finding it difficult to maintain their eye contact on you, then you can kind of sense that, okay, this person is getting uncomfortable. So let's just maybe look down for a while and then you can continue. There's something about also like trying not to move your eyes around too much. because like there's this thing that can make you look judgmental. So for example, like you are looking up and down, that can make someone uncomfortable too. And also like body language, what you mentioned is something that's very important.
Body language is a language. It's literally like, you know, as impactful as speaking. So being very aware of that, being very mindful of like how we are also like reacting when listening to this other person is like very important. Yeah.
Something else that I think upsets a lot of people when they are going through hard times is the empathy versus sympathy. Where, you know, people are always, they like, don't feel sorry for me. I don't need you to feel sorry for me. And they do kind of, when we're doing the listening and we're trying to have the conversations and all that, something that they, you know, our viewers can be aware of is how to be more empathetic. And empathetic is essentially being understanding of the feelings. You understand how they feel. You're not feeling sorry for them, but you understand, or you know, you have a measure of like the emotions they are going through.
Yeah, it just adds to that aspect of feeling heard, feeling seen and understood, and that itself is it's something in providing that support.
I think because sometimes when we like open up about something or going through something that's difficult, there could also be this aspect of like, am I overreacting, or am I being very petty? Is this very dramatic? And then by just hearing someone say like, oh, like sorry, it doesn't help in any way, because you're like, oh, okay, maybe they think I'm just being dramatic too. But if you take the empathetic approach of understanding what they're experiencing, that's where there's that feeling heard aspect of like, yeah, someone else also gets it and it's just valid and it makes sense why I'm feeling this way or why I'm going through this.
It's very different things. So I like how you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And you know, going into that, talking about that, because we react differently, the things that we provide as support, or as you can provide as support, will also be different. So if you get friends who go like, oh, you know, my sister went through something similar and we did this to help her out, maybe you can try that. Yes, you can try. But if it doesn't work, it's not wrong either. It's not that it's useless, it's just that maybe it doesn't work for your friend, even though it may seem like the same problem, because they're coming from, you know, different experiences. They're different people, maybe have different needs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the whole idea of comparison, it's not better than or lesser than. In that way, it's just different. And by saying that, yeah, sometimes the need could be that, like, yeah, if they explicitly say that, yeah, I do need a perspective on this. If you have a friend or someone you know who have experienced this, I do need a perspective. If they're actually saying it, then by all means, do give that. But if that's not what they're looking for, then yeah, it's just that presence, that empathy, that silence, you know, the understanding that you're offering is more than enough.
And usually you guys are, in a sense, you are the first line of defense before they come and see us. They will come to you first, usually, because you are their friends, you are their relatives, they know you, they are comfortable with you. The fact that they come to you means they actually feel a measure of safety. And usually you will be the first people they see before they come to us. And also you will be the people they depend on after they leave us. So don't discount the fact that, you know, just because you're not trained for it, that whatever help that you give is unimportant. That are one of the most important facets of a person's well-being, right? Just being that support.
So yeah, when it comes to providing support for someone else, right, there's so many little things that can be done. For example, also just like helping them with their self-care. So it can be maybe doing like a fun hobby with them, checking in on them, or deciding to do an activity that they enjoy together. So maybe also holding them accountable in that way, that could be very helpful to spend time with someone and help them to take care of their mental health if you have the capacity yourself to. Yeah, and even maybe being like an inspiration in some way, how maybe you practice self-care, you take care of yourself, and then you're someone who may be going through certain challenges can look up to how you're managing it in certain ways and be inspired by that.
Just accompanying them through certain self-care things, like say going on a walk, mental health walks, as we do. Going on mental health walks, and then just accompanying, or like say if they just need help with cleaning up their room, and then, you know, cleaning is therapeutic, and then just accompanying them to do it, that can be encouraging. You know, for example, you know, people dealing with really low motivation and just finding it difficult to get something done, and then if you have the capacity, helping out with that a little, just easing the load a little. Again, if you can, right? No pressure to do it, but in whichever ways you can offer that support to ease the load a little, and then that does go a long way.
Yeah, that's true. I like how you emphasize that, if you can, because it's true. We always want to help. You always want to help a friend, you always want to help a relative, but the main thing is you have to be able to, and to be able to, you have to keep yourself healthy. And so that's also something, like, it's not wrong to take a break if you're feeling maybe mentally worn down, you're too tired. It's okay to step back a little bit. It's okay to voice out yourself that, you know, I've had a pretty rough day today. I hope you I turn in early, I like to unwind a bit, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So there's no guilt to be had about taking care of yourself, because if you're not healthy, how are you gonna help other people be healthy, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, caring for a friend or someone doesn't come at the cost of yourself.
Very important.
Yeah.
Oh, you get to gauge this person actually needs professional help, so let me find resources, because you can't be the replacement for like the mental health resource, right? Understanding your role here is to provide support, and that includes finding the resources for them. So yeah, go on Google, search up resources what you can do, and then like gathering those resources for them. And that could also look like if they're very hesitant to see a mental health professional, and it's about like easing it for them. So things like accompanying them to their first appointment, that could actually be a great help to some people.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's good that you mentioned that, because I think a lot of times people feel they're not prepared. When they are like, when someone is in trouble, they have a problem, and then the feeling is like, I don't know how to help. I don't have the training. What can I do? I can't do anything. I'm just your friend. And I think that's like also the biggest obstacle for non-professionals, essentially, like the family members, because I don't know how to help them. I don't know what to do. And the thing is, essentially you don't have to do much. You just have to be there and to let them know that you are there and that you support them in that completely non-judgmental way. I think that's like the biggest thing for anyone who's searching for support. It's just to know that they have this like pillar that they can be on.
There's all these little ways to help someone, and it's important to help ourselves in the process and know that, the things, just by being there, being present, we are doing enough. And it's normal to feel like we're not supporting enough, or feeling inadequate, or like, you can't do much and helpless and things like that. It is normal and common, more like, to feel that way, but just recognizing that all these little acts or the tips that we talked about in today's episode is very significant, and it plays a very big role in supporting a loved one.
So I think that's it for today. Thanks for sitting in with us, whether you're listening or watching. Next episode will be our last. The last podcast is essentially us discussing and answering questions from you guys. So hope to see you next week. Hope you're having a good October.
See you.